Now, I know that Game Week 5 isn't even over yet, but as always, that doesn't stop me making some content for you guys. So here are players to buy and avoid for Game Week 6. I'm going to start this video by talking about the Newcastle defence. Now, their fixture v Brentford is actually going on as I'm recording this video, but I think regardless of how they get on in that fixture, I don't really think you can ignore them, considering the fact they conceded the fewest goals in the Premier League last season. They were the second best team in total for expected goals conceded, and their fixture run coming up was absolutely ridiculous, as you can see here. I just think in general as well, comparing them to the attack, which we'll get onto in a second, they're just nailed to play pretty much every game. I know they've got the Champions League mixed in, but I don't see, you know, Pope's not going to miss a game, for example. Not sure Botman will either. Trippier could be rotated a little bit, but I'd largely think he's going to start most of the games in the Premier League. With the fixtures they've got coming up, the fact they conceded the fewest goals in the Premier League last season, I can't believe, I know they've had a tough start to the season, but I can't believe they're going to retract too much this year, you know. They're as good, in my opinion, as they were last season. It's just a case they've had some really tough fixtures to start with. So Newcastle defence, definitely players I'd be targeting. Now, I'm not trying to get too hyped up by Morris of Luton. If you've got João Pedro, for example, I know he's just scored against Man United, so it is a hard case to sell him, but he's not starting regularly, whereas Morris is, and he is putting up some reasonably decent numbers, and whenever I've seen him play, he causes Premier League defences problems with his size and power and ability in the air. He really does make the game tough for defenders, and looking at the next sort of 5 fixtures that he's got, it's a really nice run. He's got obviously the double game week in 7, Everton away, Burnley at home. I think certainly over the next couple of game weeks, he's a better option than João Pedro, particularly, you know, if you're looking to hop off João Pedro and then potentially wildcarding in game week 8, I think Morris could be a really good placeholder for that sort of third, maybe second striker position. I'd also just say he's absolutely nailed to start for Luton. You know, he's by far and away their first choice striker, and he takes the penalties, which means I always like penalty takers in FPL for obvious reasons. You know, you can get a penalty in any game, so regardless of the quality of opposition, he could score in those games. In 0.48 expected returns per 90, it's not too bad at all. So if you're looking for a João Pedro replacement, I think with the upcoming fixtures he got, and if you're going to wildcard in game week 8, I think Morris is a really good option. Next up then, we've got Ollie Watkins. Now, I'm not suggesting that you should tear up your team and buy him, but I'm seeing a lot of players selling it, and I'm just trying to fight Ollie Watkins' corner, really. I think he's had a really decent start to the season. He started the 5 games that obviously Villa have played, got 4 assists in those 5 games, which compared to other strikers of his price point, really, I think there's a little bit of a shortage of really decent Premier League strikers that you can pick in FPL, and Watkins certainly doesn't fall into that category. I think he's a really good option, and his long-term fixtures, if you look beyond sort of 6 and 7, where arguably he's got some tough ones, those long-term fixtures are absolutely fantastic, and certainly if you're wildcarding in game week 8, I don't see a way where you don't go for Ollie Watkins. And even still, like, if you've got him in your team currently, I just don't see any point in selling him. You know, he's putting up decent numbers, 4 returns in 5 games, and I'd say he's more than overdue a goal as well. He hasn't got one yet, of course, we all know that, but he's got 2 expected goals. 2 XG without putting up a single actual goal means he's due one. I just think he's a great option. Even though he's not on penalties anymore, I don't think it matters. He still seems to be the focal point of that Villa attack, and with Diaby playing up front alongside him, I just think he's turned into slightly more creative than maybe the goal-scoring form he was in last season, but that doesn't put me off at all. The next player I wanted to talk about then, and I've held off doing so in previous game weeks because I didn't want to be knee-jerky about it, but James Ward-Prowse is really impressing me for West Ham. I think he suits that system and their team perfectly, you know. Obviously, he's scoring goals this season, more so than we probably saw in a Southampton shirt, and just with the way that West Ham play and the set-piece ability that he's got, you know, the 2 big centre-backs that West Ham usually start with, and they're just a big team in general, you know, the likes of Souček, Zuma, so on and so on. I just think they're going to be fantastic from set pieces with James Ward-Prowse taking them, so he could get an assist, obviously, from those free kicks in any game, as well as scoring. You know, the free kicks that he takes he's probably the best free kick taker in the world, right? So the fact he's on those free kicks means he could score against any team. He's also, as we've seen, adding more open play goals to his game, and with Kudus in the team now, or, you know, obviously signing for West Ham, it does make me think, what's Ben Rama's future in that team looking like? He is currently the West Ham designated penalty taker, you know. if Ben Rama's not on the pitch, which is probably quite likely as they've signed some really talented players, could James Ward-Prowse be their penalty taker? He took the penalties for Southampton. It's obviously, we know his dead ball ability. Could he be their penalty taker? It's just a question at the moment. Obviously, that's not guaranteed. Another thing as well, we don't know if that counts for West Ham exactly, but for Southampton, he was known as a 90-minute, 38-game man. He didn't miss a minute in the Premier League unless he was injured. I think we could see that carry on for West Ham. So, got sort of 6.1 million in the bank, or maybe a little bit more, but you're looking for a cheap midfielder. Really looking like James Ward-Prowse is your man. Now, this one might be a little bit controversial. We obviously already spoke about the Newcastle defence, and I think you can bank on at least 3 or 4 of their defenders starting most Premier League games. However, their attack, just not sure you can bank on them. Now, they might have that fantastic fixture run, but looking at these players, you know, there's 2 players pretty much that can start in all of the forward positions for Newcastle, which makes me think you just can't back any of them to play regularly. Now, I'd suggest in general, you know, across the game, there's a plethora, certainly, of midfield options that are probably better than any of these guys on paper anyway. And then up front, you know, it's Wilson or Isak. It's a 50-50 in my opinion as to whether any of those are going to play. For me, that fixture mum might be looking really good, but I don't think you can back any of these guys to play regularly. And for that reason, I think you have to avoid the Newcastle attack. All right, and that's the end of the video. Quite a quick one there because I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about from Game Week 5 so far. There's not a lot of players that have been absolutely standing out to me, and also the opposite, you know, players that I'd absolutely be looking to get out of my team. And yeah, let me know what you thought of these picks. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like rating, subscribe to the Golden Goal channel, which should be just here, and I'll catch you in my next video.